Hello again. Even the Dalai Lama doesn't have a chance to speak twice, so it's a great privilege for me. I would like to thank the Honourable President and the Oxford Union Society for inviting me to speak here tonight, and it's a delight to have the honour to speak to the guests here, and also to be followed by eminent speakers who will speak on their own, with their own expertise on whether artifacts taken, lifted, or however you would like to phrase it, in colonial times should be returned to the nations to which they belonged before. And I would also like to thank my colleague in New Zealand, he couldn't be here, Alan Smith, who made my trip possible here tonight. My interest, first of all, in this discussion is in the Parthenon marbles, which were taken from the Parthenon by Lord Elgin at a time when the Greek nation was enslaved and had no say. Elgin ripped them off, and we must remember that after all the arguments we've heard, that he took these as decorations for his house. He desecrated a temple, a holy shrine. The Parthenon sculptures are not statues. They are holy relics taken from a place of worship. Also, the Parthenon has been torn in two. It is in two separate sections. The British Museum said, well, this is much better because it's ecumenical. We can show them. You can't all go to Greece. How many people go to Greece? We show them to 6 million people a year. My counterpoint is that 2 million people in Athens a day drive and walk by the Parthenon, and it's up there influencing and telling them this is where democracy started, this is where the rights of man were enshrined, and this temple is the symbol of democracy, where free citizens can get together and debate, vote, and by majority vote, decide on what is going to happen. It's exactly the institution we have here tonight. We will speak, you will decide after your questions what the motion will be. Will it be carried for the return, or will it be not carried? Anyway, I would also like to talk about the British Museum, about their argument, if I may. They said, well, it's okay, have half those things in Greece. You know, there's no reason for them to go back because people can see them in London. I have here a book. I won't tell you how it came into my possession, but it did come normally. It wasn't looted. It's 300 years old. It's by Henry Chauncey, and he says it's called A History of the Antiquities of Hertfordshire. It's from 1700, the date 1700, before Blenheim Palace was built, and it's come into my possession. I'm a Greek, I'm not from Hertfordshire, but I have an interest. It fascinated me to read about the first Earl, who was captured by the Welsh, and then they killed him. It says, unfortunately, about the springs, the water that was in Hertfordshire, one that you drank, and he said it's medicinal, it gets rid of the hypochondriac from your system, and also it's good to clean out the bowels. So these were nice little things I liked about it, but I'm not connected to Hertfordshire. The book itself has some interesting notes, which some ascribe to Graham Greene, others to the Queen Mother, who both of them were for Hertfordshire. I really don't know. What I would like to say, though, taking the argument of the British Museum, I thought, well, let's share the book. So I took off its cover. I ripped out its pages. And there are maps here. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to follow the argument of the British Museum. I'm going to tear up those pages and divide them. I don't want anyone to be shocked by it, because this is the argument of the British Museum, what happened to the Parthenon sculptures. I will leave one copy in England, and I will have one in Greece, because one will go to Hertfordshire, where people have a special interest. This is my copy, it will go to Greece. The other copy will go to Hertfordshire, to a library. I would like to say something else. Of course, I haven't torn the original. Those were photocopies I tore. The original is... The original is in my hands. It is in that shape. It is in Greece. If there is somebody in Hertfordshire, a teacher or a school who wants it, has a special interest in their own counties, they're fantastic engravings of the manor houses in great detail. Wonderful artists have worked on this book. I will happily give it to them. I will not donate it, because donation implies that I own it. I don't own it. I have it in trust. It's too important. It's not the Magna Carta, but it's a book that is in one private citizen's possession. My book will go to Hertfordshire, so the people of Hertfordshire can have what is theirs. The British Museum have their own arguments. We want the Parthenon sculptures back. Now, I want to tell you about the British Museum. It calls itself a museum. In fact, what it is, it's full of colonial booty. There are Assyrian things, there are Greek things, and when I went there, I said it is not a British museum. If it was called the British Conquest Museum, I would be happier with that. It would be honest, and we could live with it. But it's called the British Museum. It's neither British nor a museum, because if it's British, I asked, where is the British room? There isn't one. At least the French call theirs the Louvre, which Napoleon swept all the things from Egypt. It's called the Louvre. The British Museum is neither British, nor is it a museum in the conventional sense, because museums collect things, they buy things, and they show them. This is a repository of looted colonial booty. Every civilization that came under the Union Jack, the Empire, had their artifacts taken and put in the British Museum. It is a special category. It is not a museum in the conventional sense. It is Ali Baba's cave. That is exactly what it is. Every empires have, the way they work is they're covetous. That is how empires acquire things. And they take things and then they want to show off their things to their subjects, to show the wonderful civilizations that have been conquered. We see the Koh-i-Noor diamond. Where is it? It's in the crown of the Queen. The Indians, every time they look at it, they see the symbol of what was most important, the most important stone in the world, which was found in India. It traveled around in Persia, and it's on that crown. So when the monarch is crowned, the message is clear: who is the boss? But these are all things that belong to another century. There's a context. We don't worry about that. It was done by other people, and modern Britain has no guilt and must have no guilt. And we have no responsibility. You have no responsibility for what was done. The British Museum, though, however, imagine, let's say, an island somewhere in the Pacific. They're digging, suddenly they find a 3-meter cube of osmium. The money is incredible. Or in Africa somewhere, a mountain which is diamonds. And suddenly these little states, full of money, they don't know what to do with it, build a wonderful museum, and they want to have a national museum, an international museum, because they can't have their own museum. There's not much to show there. So they go to the British Museum and said, please, tell us how we can acquire this. We have money. We want to make our museum an international museum, like the one you claim yours is. And so we go to the British Museum and we look at how they acquired some of their items. We go to Lord Elgin in the 19th century, the son of the one who took the Parthenon, classicist, studied at Oxford. He was the governor of China after the end of the Opium War, which was imposed on China. Elgin was about to sign the Convention of Peking, which would give Hong Kong in perpetuity to the British. It was the British Empire, the most powerful empire ever known. And as we know, colonies are the footprints of empire. Empires put up their colonies as flags, as mirrors to reflect the image of the metropolis from faraway lands. Anyway, so we go to the British Museum, and this new state, full of money, awash with money, with a wonderful marble and glass and bronze, gold museum, but nothing in it. They want to make it the international museum. So then they ask what happened with Lord Elgin. So Lord Elgin, the son, is about to sign the convention, and he says, and he writes, I wanted to destroy the Forbidden City. But because we're signing the convention there, it wouldn't be practical. So I've told our people to destroy the old summer palace. 3,500 British troops spent 4 days burning down the palace. 500 people, women and neutered servants who hid in the rooms were burnt. And it took 4 days to burn it down. There was someone there, though, who wrote about the attitude, and this is from the manual of how you acquire international booty. And may I read, it's not long, this is by Chinese Gordon, the man who was killed by the Mahdi. So, Gordon is 27 years old, the Chinese are defeated, the summer palace has been looted again by Lord Elgin, and Gordon writes, "We went out, and after pillaging it, burnt the whole place, destroying in a vandal-like manner most valuable property which could not be replaced for millions. We got upward of £48 apiece in prize money. I have done well. You can scarcely imagine the beauty and the magnificence of the palace we burnt. It made one's heart sore to burn them." He appears contrite here, but listen. "In fact, these places were so large, and we were so pressed for time, that we could not plunder them carefully. Quantities of gold ornaments were burnt, considered to be brass." Gordon went to Khartoum. The Mahdi killed him. Kitchener was sent down on a punitive expedition, because whenever you want things, it's a punitive expedition. Kitchener killed 10,000 Arabs, left another 10,000 to die in the desert with no attention, and he went into Omdurman, dug up the Mahdi's body, chopped the head off, threw the Mahdi's body into the Nile, took the head, boiled it out, took the eyes out, whatever, and he put it as let's say, an item, a decoration on his desk, which he used as an inkwell and as a drinking cup. Then he went back to England. Queen Victoria told him what a wonderful job he did, and they made him Lord. So there you have Lord Kitchener. Now, I don't know how much more time I have. Am I over time? That's all. So I have made my argument. We want the Parthenon marbles back. Thank you for listening to me. It was an honor to be able to address you. Thank you.